What does it take to create a vibrant, thriving life? First, the sad news is that Thoreau was right. Most people are leading quiet lives of desperation, lacking in meaning, fulfillment, and vitality. But we choose more. We choose to create extraordinary lives. And the Art of Vibrant Living show entertains you with inspiration, empowerment, and education to create your life into a masterpiece. It's time. Let's vibe up. Aloha, y'all. Daniel Aaron. I am your host. This is the Art of Vibrant Living show, and I'm so excited for y'all. We got an amazing show today. Phenomenal guest. I'll tell you more about her in a moment. The Art of Vibrant Living. It's a mouthful. It's more than a mouthful, though. It's a possibility, and it could be a reality for you. What does it mean? Well, it depends on you. It's up to your definition of what vibrant living means. It is, though, the possibility of truly being fulfilled in your life. And two things I encourage you to. One, today, listen, be entertained, be inspired. Yes, that's cool. And take something that Alana shares and say, ooh, that's more than just a good idea. That's something I'm going to act upon. I'm going to do something with it. Try it out. Experiment. Right? That's where the rubber meets the road. And if you would like to be in a conversation with me, if I could support you to create even more vibrancy in your life, to create what you want, to move away from something, perhaps, reach out to me, daniel@danielaaron.com, and let's have a conversation. So today's show is very exciting. Alana Cahoon is a phenomenal woman. She's the visionary behind Grow to Be You LLC, renowned for designing signature programs that guide high-achieving professionals and entrepreneurs through profound journeys of personal and professional metamorphosis. Metamorphosis is such a great word. Clients gain from accessing her extensive training in lifelong holistic health, creativity, and conscious leadership, enabling them to unlock their inherent wisdom and apply it across all facets of their life, creating harmony, abundance, and well-being in health, wealth, and happiness. She's the best-selling author of Mindfulness, Mantra, and Meditations, and hosts the Creating Abundance podcast. I'm so excited. Alana, thank you for joining us today. Welcome.
Hi, Daniel. Thanks for having me here.
It's an honor. It's a pleasure. I love what you are up to in the world, creating abundance and vibrancy. So tell us, if you would, because I have the advantage of knowing you a little bit ahead of time, how'd you get here? How is it that you've come to be doing this work that is empowering and inspiring people around the world?
Well, I used to say there were three of me. My first career path was in the arts. I made my way to New York City, where I sang at clubs. I acted on stages, worked in offices, and waited on tables. And then I found myself working a real job, a quote, 9-to-5 job. And that was the program director of a business technology incubator. And so at the time, I didn't even know what an incubator was, but it was a program and a facility that helped entrepreneurs take their idea off the canvas and into the world as a thriving company. Throughout all of my life, I've been drawn to the holistic, the natural world. And so during my time in New York City, I became a vegetarian. Actually, I did that when I was 17. I started meditating at 16. And when I was in New York, though, I became a member of the New York Open Center. It was a holistic learning center where I met all kinds of amazing people, like the late Zen priest Thich Nhat Hanh, who's written I don't know, probably 50 books on mindfulness. And then I continued my holistic path throughout my life, not knowing that there was actually a living to be made, or that I could take everything I'd been gaining throughout my life and do what I'm doing today, which is, I don't think, much further away from what you're doing. And that's to help people live vibrantly, right? Creating abundance, not only in their bank account, but in their hearts, in their bodies, in their minds, and in their homes. Yeah.
Well, that's beautiful. That's awesome. Thank you. And I love the open center. I used to live in New York, in upstate New York, and I didn't know that part about Thich Nhat Hanh. He, I guess you could say, was in this case, as you pointed out, truly a phenomenal being. And I just remembered the other day, I'd forgotten this for years, that I actually took Buddhist vows with him many years ago too. So cool.
That's
I
cool.
love hearing that part of your background. Um, and I love the way you shared your experience of New York and being on stage and waiting tables, and right. That's such a beautiful archetype and reality that's there for so many people. And so you bring a really cool combination of performing and service, right? Because that's some level of what those industries bring about, and then this technology and business incubator experience. So cool. How does all of that come together for you now in the way you work?
Yeah. Well, I work primarily with people who are, as I tend to call them now, high achievers. And many of us are, especially in this country that I believe we're both in, the US. We live in a fast-paced world, a technological world where we're sometimes expected to work around the clock. We certainly are able to. And so my job, I feel, is to help people bring more balance and harmony into their lives, to continue on that path of high achievement, setting your goals big but having the health and the abundance of time to actually enjoy your rewards from all of that hard work. So learning to take breaks throughout the day, stopping to not eat lunch in front of your computer. I had this conversation with a client yesterday. And I used to do it. I did it myself. So I kind of get it. I've lived in different ways. As a singer in New York, it was not fast paced at all. And at the incubator, it was very fast paced. So I get both sides, and why not enjoy life, bring awareness to everything and take that time to pause and enjoy the flower, the bird, the trees, and the hard work that you've been applying yourself to.
Okay. Yeah, cool. I'm with you. So look, can I play angel's advocate with you for a moment?
You certainly may.
Because as my experience anyway, for myself and with clients and colleagues, as entrepreneurs, we are ambitious. We see possibility. There's so many things that we could do. And the experience for a lot of folks is, well, there's not enough time. So wouldn't it be useful to eat lunch in front of the computer and get more done? Is there some downside to that? I think that's what you're saying.
Well, yeah, there's definitely downside to it, because our bodies and our minds, our energy reserve, it all gets depleted and we're worthless or worth less. So by taking the time, even if it's a 10-minute walk, and when you think about it, eating doesn't require a lot of time. It would be nice if it required a little bit more time than we give to it. But by taking 10 minutes and stepping out and away from your work and spending that time with the food, you're actually going to digest that food. You're going to give your mind some time to take a little rest, a break, so that when you do return to your job, whatever it is, it might be cooking or teaching, but it might be in front of a computer, whatever that is, you'll have been refreshed. And your body and mind needs that in order to see clearly. And I was actually working on a project this morning, and I had to step away numerous times because I was getting frustrated. And nothing good comes out of frustration. You'll just continue to kind of hit your head against the wall. But walking away and returning, you get to see it with a new set of eyes. Like I said, being more refreshed.
Beautiful. Well, it's great. You're giving me wonderful nostalgia, because I just remembered as you said that when I did live in New York, when I lived at Omega Institute in upstate New York, when Thich Nhat Hanh used to come visit there, one of the most extraordinary things I had ever experienced up until that point in my life was we would have silent meals, right, during his retreats. And when he had the retreats there would be maybe 500-600 people, sometimes more, because he was, just such a beautiful light and a magnet. So people would come, and at Omega they had these massive dining hall. It's like an airplane hangar times 10. And usually, right, the experience is always like, as soon as one walks into the dining hall, it's like all this stuff going on and people talking and silverware and plates and all this. And for that week when he was there, there'd be like hundreds of people sitting there eating in silence. And I had never experienced anything like that up till that point in my life. And it was just so, wow, I hadn't thought of it in years, but it was so powerful. And because so much of what he taught and what I hear you sharing with us too is to be able to create presence and to slow down time in some way am I on track? Is that part of what you're sharing?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I love eating in silence. And you're really able to pay attention to what it is you are eating. And it gives you time to rest again. One of the meditations that I practice in Tibetan Buddhism is rest. Simply is. It's just to soften your gaze. Your eyes are open and you soften your gaze and just think to yourself, rest. And that's it. Allowing the thoughts in your mind to simply rest. Coming into a quiet place. And whether that's for 1 minute or 25 minutes, it's just as powerful. It certainly can be to give yourself that refresher. And you can do that throughout the day.
Oh, that's powerful. So what do you think happens then? Why? I mean, as you say that, like I can feel myself, even my energy calming down. And, prior to us meeting right now, it's been a very full day, an active day for me. And it doesn't necessarily occur to me to rest. And I'm guessing that's probably the case for a lot of people. What do you think's going on with that? Why don't we naturally rest? It seems like such a natural and helpful thing to do.
I think we used to.
Huh.
And I think that was before we had access to what we're doing right now. There are two sides of the coin in this. We're so fortunate. We have the gift of technology so that we can talk to our grandmother in another time zone, another country. We can have global communications, whether that's political, friendships, relatives, or business associates. I do business all over the world. Who'd have thought that? The days when I was in New York City, it wasn't even possible unless you had a lot of money and could get on an airplane and go across the world, which I did do on occasion, but I didn't have that kind of financial freedom. So when the internet took off, for some of us who were still around when it wasn't around, it was a shift that I don't think the world was ready for. And I'm not sure the world has really put it into place. So I think it was just a couple of days ago, the Surgeon General, I don't know if if it's a law now, but he or she, I'm sorry, I have to keep track of who's who today in the political world, but they're placing the same warning on social media as they do on tobacco products, that this may be harmful to your health. And so isn't that wild? That takes us to a whole different level, but just the ability to be on call 24/7 creates, for some people especially, an element of distraction and temptation that never existed before. And you might be missing something. There's so many people out there. There's so many opportunities, and there's excitement, and what are people saying? So I think meditation and mindfulness, especially a teacher, a great master like Thich Nhat Hanh, teaches the skill of bringing ourselves back home. That to me is what mindfulness and awareness is about. It's about, so I'm looking outside my window. I live in a park. All I see are trees and grass. That's coming back home. Like, I love this, what we're doing right now, but that is what actually refreshes me and fulfills me and helps me to relax and to calm down and come back into what's really, really important. And it's your health, your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health. Financial health, absolutely, it's important, but you need to bring that harmony to all of it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I'm with you. Well, and that's a good segue, I think, because you mentioned earlier, right, your podcast is called Creating Abundance, and you spoke about abundance, yes, in the financial sense, though in other ways too. So what does it mean to you? How, teach us about how to create abundance, if you would.
Yeah. Well, I'm also in the process of getting my next book launched called Creating Abundance, none other than. And here's why I think it's important. Many people I work with, their main goal is to make a lot of money. And I get it. I'd like to have a lot of money. I find that life is more comfortable when I have more money than when I don't. I've been on both sides of that coin too. But it's not the end all. It's not the answer to everything. So it's finding, it's really, it's a balancing act, and knowing what your personality, what is the best balancing act for you, because my personality is different. I am naturally chill, but I like to be very busy and goal or intention oriented, I like to say. And so as you're creating your abundance, once again, creating those goals of, I'd like to elevate my career, my business, grow my business. And these are my goals. And how am I going to get there? Well, I'm going to implement this, and that. Who's going to help you? How much is it going to cost? What is your budget? Why is that important to you? When you make, let's say, $1 million, let's say by the end of 1 year, you intend to make $1 million more than you already have. Whether you have $5 or 5 million already, it doesn't matter. Your goal is to make $1 million in 1 year. And so I think ultimately you need to ask yourself why. What are you going to do with it? You remember that song? There's a song out there, If I Had $1 Million. Well, it's really adorable. They come up with all ideas what they're going to do with their $1 million. Well, have those ideas. How is it going to serve you? And how is it going to serve everyone around you? So when I have that $1 million, it's going to serve me by giving me the funds to hire more people so that I can delegate the busy work that I don't like. Beautiful. I'm employing someone. I'm giving money to them. I'm making my life a bit easier so I can focus on the work I want to do. And what are you doing for the rest of the world in the universe? Are you going to tithe some of that money, give it to charity? Are you going to use it to offer your service to a wider audience? And your service is going to help people be happier, stronger, healthier, whatever that is. So I think these are some of the things that are really important to look at. And therefore, you're not only creating abundance financially, but abundance soulfully, really, when you come down to it. Makes me happy knowing that my growth is going to bring joy to others as well.
Okay, thank you. So I hear you that one of the ways to create abundance, or one component, is having a reason why, right? Knowing what we want it for. That's beautiful. So, and I think I heard part of what you're saying is that good, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but good if that the reason is that it benefits more than just yourself, right? And so another moment of angel's advocate, if I may, for a moment. Soon as you say that, part of my mind goes, well, wait a minute. What about all those tycoons and sharks and people that make millions and billions and zillions of dollars, and they don't seem to care about anybody else or the environment, and it's all about them. They seem to be making plenty of money. How does that work?
I don't have the answer to each and every billionaire out there. We have a local billionaire. He's moved to Florida, but his name is Tom Golisano, and he gives money to the university here. He's always creating hospitals and charities. He created the children's hospital here. And so sometimes we don't necessarily know what the billionaires in our world are doing with their money. And if any of them are listening right now, I'd like to hope and believe and trust that they are giving some of that money to support important causes. Actually, it's in law that will serve them. I think if you give a certain amount of money to charity, it will offset your taxes, at least in this country. So there are different reasons why you would do it, not only for a spiritual and a kind-hearted generosity, but to actually be more efficient with your finances. And for those who don't, well, I would imagine they're not terribly happy. If we're just holding on and grabbing and taking, it doesn't come from a place of happiness. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm with you. That all makes good sense. And as you say that, I think of Ebenezer Scrooge, and and the miser archetype never appears very happy. That's for sure. And also, as you said that, I thought of this great little story. My friend Will Bowen, he's the author and founder of this movement about a complaint-free world. And he had at one point when that was really growing, he was invited to be on Oprah Winfrey's show, obviously back in the day when she still had a show. And so his whole thing was about how to stop complaining, right? How to shift out of complaint, which I can attest from my experience is at least for me, was a lot harder than it sounded, a lot harder than I thought. Beautiful, beautiful work. Anyway, the point though is he goes on the Oprah Winfrey show and they have a great discussion. And then off camera, she says to him, Pastor Will, that's what she called him. Pastor Will, I really, I get what you're saying, and that's how I live. Right? And when he told me this story, there was this beautiful moment because he paused and so he paused in the conversation with Oprah also, and she looked at him and said, "Oh, I think I know what you're thinking." He's like, she said, "You're thinking, well, what do you have to complain about? You've got so much money, you've got everything you want." And he's like, "Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking." And then she said, and I love this, and which ties into with what you're saying, is the reason she has all the abundance that she has is because she lived by this rule of not complaining, right? That's what created the abundance for her. And it was such a beautiful story. It's obviously stayed with me that was maybe 15 years ago that I heard that story from Will.
That's very inspiring. So listen, everyone, stop your complaining.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Well, so I'm curious, Alana, on your journey, you've clearly overcome a lot, and I imagine sometimes when you're in the show business world and maybe in the entrepreneurial world, you've encountered difficulties or challenges or what some could call failures. And knowing you as I do, you've learned and grown from those things. Is there an example that comes to mind for you of a time like that?
Oh, which one? um, as I let's see. Here's an example. So, you know the saying about New York: if I can make it there, I can make it anywhere. When I went there to make it, only 4% of all actors were actually employed. And there were no CDs. It was a vinyl world, and getting a record deal was really difficult. So my band tried. We wrote lots of music. We were so creative, so skilled, and we created our own recording studio. And I think with each setback, what's important is to know that you tried. You're the one who tried, because most people don't. Most people allow their dreams to sit and collect dust. And so for anyone listening, dust off your dreams. Try it. Failure is just a word. Go out and have courage to spread your wings and fly and see what happens. Sometimes the craziest ideas take off, and it's those that are well planned that fall flat. So, but how did I manage it? It's called pounded the pavement. I pounded the pavement. That means I didn't give up. I didn't give up, and I got gigs when I got them, and I learned so many amazing things in these incredible office buildings in the one of the most powerful cities in the world, and certainly back then it was. So all of it was useful, and I just met amazing people from all over the world.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Thank you. So if it's okay, I want to go a little further with that, because you pounded pavement, right? And as you say that, I'm like, oh, that's so cool. That's inspiring. Like you didn't give up. You kept going, right? You put one foot in front of the other. That's the kind of picture I get, and I've never been in the acting or music world like that, but I imagine it's got to be discouraging to try and not get those breakthroughs. I was speaking with a client the other day, and he said, this is a last chance. If this doesn't work, then I'm just going to give up. And that's a whole nother conversation. But what if you dig a little deeper? I'm curious, what is it in you? How did you find the power or the resilience to keep pounding pavement? I mean, had to have been moments where you were like, I feel like throwing in the towel.
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, it's kind of easy. The word that rises to the top is God. I feel close to God. I have faith. I've always had faith. I went to Catholic school, 1st grade to 6th grade. I went to church my whole life. I've studied and trained in multiple religions because I think they're all so beautiful. And they are, like, to me, religions are philosophies that are on a wheel, and in the center is the same thing. It's the beginning and the end, and the truth and the light. And so that's kind of how I did it. And I, with my meditation training and living a pretty healthy life as a vegetarian, um, and gratitude as well. Um, that's what I think will carry everyone through a crisis, is to see the cup half full. Wow, I'm the lucky one. I'm the lucky one. And I lived on the outskirts of Harlem, and it was risky, but there was an excitement to it, and I was brave, and I didn't always live there. I actually started in the Upper East Side, which was the nicest part of the city, and then to a pretty rough part, and all of it. It's just part of life and becoming who you are. But I don't want to lose this opportunity to share.
Mm.
I get to tell the stories now. I actually was at the same audition as Whitney Houston. And I remember standing around, it was like a mile around this building. Maybe not, I'm exaggerating, but there were many of us female singers wanting this gig. And talking to them, they were saying, well, there's this woman named Whitney, and her aunt is in the business, and word has it she's already got it. And nobody knew who Whitney Houston was unless you knew her aunt. I think it's Cecile. So, of course, she got that. And that was frustrating. And that was not uncommon. Another great story that I only learned about the truth behind it was through Facebook, reconnecting with a friend. I went to, it wasn't an audition. A couple of guys I worked with at a restaurant were writing a rap album. And this was the late 80s. So this was one of the first rap albums. And I went with my girlfriend to go sing. They invited me to sing on it. Well, there were other singers there, and they did not want me there. It was like I was not welcome. And so when it came my turn to sing, I eloquently said, I'm going to sit this out. And I learned later that the singer, she was young, was Mary J. Blige. And of course, I didn't know it then, but at least I knew well enough to let go of that opportunity. And some might have said that was a lost opportunity, but I don't know. I think it's a great story to share now.
Yeah, well, so you were there at the beginning of Whitney Houston becoming an incredible superstar, and
Yeah.
Mary J. Blige, and I think part of what you're pointing out is it's just such a competitive world, and some people have advantages, and so what was it like for you to transition from? I imagine, I don't know, but what I hear from some people is like, I have a dream. I'm going to be a performer. I'm going to, be a singer on stage. And then at a certain point, you transition to what you described earlier as a job, like a regular job, right? So what was that process like for you?
Again, I'm grateful for it. I loved it. I loved my job as the program director. Helping, because I was helping entrepreneurs like you and me. Of course, they were in the tech industry, but they had a dream and they were willing to invest everything. They left their day jobs to invest in their own dream. And there's something so powerful about the entrepreneurial spirit, that person who is willing to just jump off and dive in and go for it. And not everyone succeeded. So that was a beautiful experience to see some of the guys, and they were primarily guys at the time. I know there's some women in tech. Thank goodness now, go women in tech. But at that time, it was primarily men. And some of them had huge companies, multi-million-dollar companies, have sold them, started more companies, and some of them just didn't work out. but they used that as a stepping stone, and that only served them in their next step in life. And I also want to say, I never stopped singing. I'm singing tonight on another live show, and I never really stopped acting because look, here I am. I'm talking with you. So it's, just in a different manner.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, and you point out nicely that there are some commonalities between performance, acting, singing, and entrepreneurship, and that on some level it's driven by a dream. It takes some risk. It's guarantees that one is going to encounter, quote, failure and rejection, right? So there's something beautiful and powerful about that. So what would you say? What do you think makes the difference between those who are like you've been able to do this in different aspects of life, from the performance world to entrepreneurship, like to put yourself forward in that realm, right? And a lot of people don't try or go for more conventional, seemingly safer routes. What's the difference that makes the difference in having that kind of courage?
Well, I would suggest that your personality type has a lot to do with it as well, and how you were raised. My mother always said, you can do whatever you want to do. You can be whatever you want to be. She also said, whatever you choose, just know you're going to spend most of your life doing that. So you better love it. Yeah. So there's having an entrepreneurial spirit is not for everyone. And playing it safe is kind of beautiful too. There's a beautiful pattern I've seen in some loved ones where they've taken the traditional route of getting a full-time job and working for their adulthood, and then they get to retire early and spend their later years traveling and relaxing in their retirement. I don't think I'll ever retire, Daniel. This is it. So my meditation on resting is very important because, I think I have that personality who is always going to be creating something and finding opportunities like this beautiful show and people like you to collaborate with and have fun with.
Yeah, cool. I'm with you. And that's beautiful that you got those messages from your family, from your mother. I remember when my daughter was an infant and toddler, I had picked it up from a friend of mine. I used to say to her, I'd kind of role play it and get her to say, I said, "What's your name?" And she would say, "Zeta Shazandra Aaron." And I'd say, "And what can you do?" And she would go, "I can do anything." And I remember saying that with her one time, and somebody was there and they were like, "Well, isn't that going to lead to behavioral problems?" and I loved the question though, because it brought me to thinking like, well, I don't know, and what is behavioral problems and all of that, but I love that I had learned enough to kind of do my best to pass on that message as your mother had to you. And because it's true, right? Anybody can do anything. And even creating a, seemingly safe job, that's a creation too, right? So cool. Well, time's ticking along. Let me check in with you, Alana. Is there anything I haven't asked you about that I should have, or that you would like to speak about?
Gosh, I think we've talked about everything. I have a podcast I'd love people to listen to as well. Creating Abundance, and it's similar to this because I've interviewed you, and it's all about people's journeys. How did you get here? How do you serve the world? How did you overcome obstacles? I think we learn from each other. I have coaching programs online. Please visit me. It's my website. It is my name, alanacahoon.com. I have free guided meditations there, a free ebook. I've got my book on Amazon, a new one coming out. So I'd love to to share the wealth, share the knowledge and wisdom that I've gained throughout my life with everyone. So
Beautiful. Okay, thank you. So I appreciate you letting people know how to reach you. And in case anyone's listening, not viewing, I'll say it out loud. It's on the screen now for the y'all watching, but the website is ALANA. That's one L and CAHOON.com, alanacahoon.com. Fantastic. And am I remembering correctly, Alana, that you have a free gift for our audience?
I do. It's the seven steps to gain clarity. And it's a very simple 1-page document. It's PDF. You can download it, print it, put it someplace on a wall that you can look at often. You can look at it as 7 different meditations or 7 steps to it. And it just guides you into how to come into the present moment, to release stress, to create clarity, to refresh your mind, as we talked about, setting intentions. And it's fun. It's simple and it's pretty.
Beautiful and pretty. I like that.
It's
Awesome.
pretty.
Cool. And so that's also, I put the link for that into the comments for y'all that are tuning in live or by rebroadcast. And I think then, Alana, that brings us to the last part, which is the big question, the final question, the question that's so big, it's impossible to answer. And I say that if I reduce my hyperbole, meaning I'm going to ask you something that requires distillation. You've got so much experience and broad experience. If you had to boil it all down, or if there was just one thing you could say that would help people to live their most vibrant, thriving life, what's that one thing you would tell people?
Awareness. So that means pause, be in the moment, be here now. So that means if you're scrolling while you're listening, do your best to stop the scrolling and simply listen. Simply be with your food, be with your friend, look into each other's eyes, listen, be present, be with your pet, your children, your friends, your colleagues, and tune into yourself every morning. Be present with yourself before you engage in the world. How am I feeling today? Does anything hurt? Physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Bring that awareness to yourself. Take care of yourself. That's self-care. This will support you as you step into your own power and share your light with the rest of the world.
Wow, thank you. I could feel that as you spoke it, and that was an invitation to me, which I gratefully accepted, to become more present. I love the little quip I learned a long time ago in some meditation book, and it pointed out the sign on the edge of the casino in Las Vegas reads, "You must be present to win."
Okay.
You must be present to win. And that's part of what I heard you say, to win in life, to have a vibrant, thriving life, be present. Yeah. Well, on that note, I am super grateful that you have been present with us here, for all the work and courage that you've had in your life to create yourself into the visionary and the leader that you are, and then to take this time and invest it in being with us. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Daniel. It's been a pleasure.
Yay. Awesome. All right. And y'all in our audience, the heroes, the superheroes of the show, thank you. Not just for being here. I appreciate that. And I love you for that. Even more, though, I love that you are interested in more vibrancy, more thriving, that you are not only interested, you're doing something about it. Speaking of which, what's something that you can take from what Alana shared? Maybe Sitting in silence for your next meal? Ooh, radical thought. Could be cool. What else? What can you act on today that will make your life more vibrant? That's what counts. And y'all, again, thank you so much for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you again soon. And until then, aloha. Mahalo for tuning in to the Art of Vibrant Living show, y'all. I'm Daniel Aaron, and may you live with great vibrancy.